Welcome to the Rise of the Super Being podcast. I'm your host, Vanderson Pires, and today my guest it's Joel Bouzaid. It's that. Tell me if I said that right.
10 out of 10, man. You got it. You got it. It's awesome.
So, Joe, thank you so much. Welcome to the podcast, man. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being here. We're going to talk about something very, very interesting, self-leadership. Right?
We are, absolutely.
Yeah. Have you ever someone said you look like that guy from Maya CrossFit? What's his name?
It's just maybe a couple of times in my life.
Yeah. And by the way, yeah, so I've been trying Dustin. You know, it's your brother. It's my brother too, from another mother. Yeah, it's someone I've been trying to get to the podcast, Dustin from Maya CrossFit. And but yeah, he's too shy. We need to convince him to come to the podcast.
We'll do our best. I mean, it's a question that I've actually had a lot. Even last night, someone came up to me and said, "Are you Dustin's brother?"
Yeah.
So it's probably like a once a week kind of thing.
Yeah. But Joe, can you talk a little bit about your journey? So how that? So you used to run Maya CrossFit as well with Dustin, and you know you've been doing public speaking for a long time as well. So can you give a little bit more information about your background?
I left school and went to Christchurch, and I studied outdoor education. And what that was an excuse to spend a lot of time in the outdoors. Rafting, tramping, kayaking, climbing walls, snow caves, like everything. I loved it. And one of the things that you learn in the outdoors really, really quickly is that if you don't prepare well, it'll kick your butt. Like it seriously will. And Mother Nature doesn't make excuses for the time of the day, or if you thought it was supposed to be sunny, but then it changes, it doesn't care. And so it taught me a lot about preparation, and it taught me a lot about performance without even teaching me that directly. And I stayed in the outdoors. I started working with school kids, with youth, and then I landed a job in Italy running a leadership program, a personal leadership program or self-leadership program. I did that for 10 years. I had a team of 25, and that overlapped with starting Maya CrossFit with Dustin. And that became like a test, like, can I take what I know about leadership and put it into small business and make it commercially successful, but also purposeful as well. And then across the last 15 years, I've been standing on stage, working in training rooms, the whole spectrum of consultancy, just trying to help people get clearer about who they are, so that they show up more confidently to their families, to their community, and to their clients. So it's a journey, right? Life is a journey. My career's a journey. It's not really stop-start. It's just been this kind of evolution of growing and developing. And I guess at its essence is trying to help other people to become their very, very best. Yeah.
That's awesome. So Joe, so let's start with what's your definition? What's self-leadership?
Yeah, it is a great question. I think a good place to start with that, Vanderson, is what is leadership? So if we pulled out our phones now and typed in what is leadership into Google, we might come with a definition like leadership is the act of leading others, which is kind of clear, but it's not super clear. Like you could think William Wallace on his horse leading Scotland into battle, that's leading. Or you could think of my dad, who has never ever in his whole life talked about hard work, but for 60 years worked hard 6 days a week for 10 hours a day. And so they're both leaders, but a different kind of leadership. So for me, I had to define what is leadership for myself. And I think it's a bit like parenting. I think it's a bit like life. You've got to figure the stuff out for yourself. You can't just go, oh, that's what it is. And so I defined and decided through learning and reading and listening and testing that for me, leadership is influence. It is the influence that we have on people. And so self-leadership then becomes the influence that we have on ourselves. So let me explain before with a metaphor you used before. So if you take the pebble and you drop it into the pond, as it hits the water, it creates these ripples. And self-leadership is about doing the things that create the right kind of ripples in your own life. So for example, I biked here, right? It's Friday. I could have Ubered. Do I have enough money to Uber? I do. Would have been convenient, would have saved me some time. but I intentionally rode my bike here because of the influence riding my bike has on me. Endorphins, serotonin,
Yes.
feel good, exercise, you feel great, right?
It's a beautiful day.
It's a beautiful day. Yeah. And I think that's what it is. Self-leadership, or even leadership to that extent, is about influence, and it's the influence when it comes to self that we have on ourselves. Yeah.
That's so powerful. That's super powerful. And how can we start on this journey of self-leadership?
Yeah, I think first of all, it's good to understand like why self-leadership. Like when we go, okay, cool, Joel, it's about the influence that we have on ourselves. Why is that important? Well, if you look around and you really talk to people at the moment, people are lost. So many people are struggling. And when I say they're lost, like I'm talking to clients every single day, and they're like, I'm doing great work. I'm showing up as a dad, but on the inside, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm about. I don't even know who I am, Joel. So this is the narrative in 2021, and self-leadership becomes the certainty that we don't have anymore. So you look out there in the world and you go, what's certain anymore? Is my job certain? No. Is the marketplace certain? No. Is the government certain? No. Like, things are so dynamic right now. So that's one of the reasons why self-leadership becomes really, really important. The other reason is if we don't self-lead, we tend to look out too much. We tend to go, what are other people doing? What are they doing? And then we tune in too much to what other people are doing, and therefore when we follow that pathway and it doesn't work out, we blame them.
Yeah.
And there's no ownership in that. There's no self-responsibility in that. And I think the final thing would be that if we don't begin or enhance our own self-leadership, then we tend to get our significance from comparison. We tend to go, if I'm not leading myself, then where do I get my significance from? I'll just compare myself to Vanderson or Dustin or anyone. And if I compare myself to them and they're too good, then I'll lower the standard of the people that I hang out with.
Wow, that's so interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's dangerous. And I think what everybody wants is more certainty. I think we want clarity. I think we want to surround ourselves with people that lift us up, that inspire us, that say, keep going, man. Show up. Keep showing up, you know? Like that's what we need to do, but it starts here. It starts within. And one of the common mistakes I think that people make is that they think way too much, and they consume too much information instead of taking action. It's this world we live in where perfection is like celebrated. You look on Instagram and it's like, oh man, it's so dialed in, it's so organized, it's so perfect. And it sends this unconscious message to us that that's how we need to show up. So we don't take action in the areas that matter most to us. We don't take action. Anxiety goes through the roof, which is the biggest pandemic in the world right now.
Yeah,
not
so
COVID.
true. Yeah.
And so the anxiety disables the action, and then all of a sudden we're not being brave, we're not stepping out. There's one of the common mistakes that people make is that when it comes to self-leadership, they're thinking so much, which is it's natural as humans, right? We're consuming so much information more now than ever before. And as a result of doing that, we stop acting, we stop taking risks, we stop stepping out and organizing the things that would make us grow and develop, like signing up and coming here and doing something that you've never done before, right? We stop taking that action, anxiety goes up, which in and of itself is a whole podcast, right? But let's just be clear about one thing. Anxiety is very real for everybody. We have a mind that has no limits. Like if we just sat, we could construct anything in our mind, right? There's no, and we go, what's something terrible you can construct? Got that? You can go even worse and worse and worse, right? And then you've got a world where every single day, bad things happen to great people all the time.
Yeah.
So you have the reality of bad things happening and the mind that says anything's possible, where anxiety is normal. It's very normal. And our job is to disable anxiety by taking action, because it will be there regardless, and it will grow if we don't take action. So that's one of the mistakes that people make around self-leadership and trying to be the best version of themselves, trying to be the right influence to ourselves, is we stop taking action, we stop taking risks.
So Joe, I love what you said about, lots of takeaways from that, but let's go back to just a little bit of what you said about the comparison, and I think that's such a, so for example here, I don't deal much with that, but I deal with something, and I think any gym owner is gonna rely on that. It's kind of that thing when someone, I used to suffer quite a lot on the beginning of that, when someone comes and quit for some reason, so the first thing was coming to my mind, said, oh, I'm not doing a good job, the person, they quit, what could I done to improve that? And also, this idea of compare yourself with others, but I should have, my gym should be this way because I'm seeing online people doing this way, and I think that was a trap, especially in the beginning, because you don't have much, even confidence, with what you're doing. So I love what you said about, the comparison, that it's a trap.
It is, and I think a good tool, if you like, is, so often we get caught up in what's the right thing to do, what's the right thing, or what's the wrong thing, because I don't want to do that. The better question is, what's the useful thing? So when someone leaves, instead of going, did I do everything right? What did I do wrong? What's the most useful thing that I can do right now? I'm going to change my exit system. I'm going to make sure that person gets a bouquet of flowers saying, thank you very much for your contribution. Just control the controllables, right? Yeah. And channel the action into what's controllable. Because our mind will go wherever you let it go. It's like a weed, right? It'll just find the path of least resistance. And we've got to be smarter than that. Self-leadership is about action, but it's also about doing the very best job that we can at taking care of these thoughts. I mean, we've got, 60,000 thoughts every single day. It's like a wildfire in there.
But another thing is what I like what you said about, the imagination, because also when we are trapped on something, it's even the lack of imagination, because we can imagine so many other things, why we, become obsessed with one type of thing, right? With one thought, and that keep, we keep ruminating that day over day, doesn't take us to anywhere, right?
It doesn't, but that's the human condition, is to attach meaning. So if I walk in here and you acknowledge me straight away with eye contact and body language and all of that, my brain can't help but make it mean something. I feel like I'm at home. I feel like I'm in a family situation. I feel like you can't stop the brain from doing that unless you get good at interrupting the thought. So when it's negative context, so I walked in and Vanderson didn't greet me, hypothetical. I know this would never happen, of course. And we go, I don't belong. I'm not loved. Or what? Our job is to be smarter than that and go, what's useful right now? What's the useful thing to do? And to come up with another thought very, very quickly. Which it's hard to do, but it's so powerful when we start channeling our willpower the same way that we channel our willpower into learning the setup moves for an armbar, because we're willing to do that, is to start to channel our willpower into, how do I interrupt negative thoughts? What a great question to ask ourselves,
Wow, can you please repeat that?
So every day we wake up, and from the moment we wake up to when we go to bed at night, we have this much willpower, and by the end of the day, it's gone. The next day, we get it again. It's like a cell phone battery. And the question is, how do we use that? And most of us use it on our work. We use it getting ready, we use it learning, whatever it may be. The question that I have for everybody is, what sort of influence would it have on your life if you started to use some of it to interrupt negative thoughts when they begin? Imagine that.
Yes.
Imagine that in 10 years. Because life is hard, right? Life is so hard. People are going through the most difficult, adverse things, and we don't have the tools to manage it. And we try to manage it with alcohol or community or smoking or whatever, social connection, Netflix, you name it. Ben and Jerry's, we'll find something to deflect. But imagine if we could cultivate a habit of what Robin Sharma would call opposition thinking. So something happens, you go, oh dear, I feel humiliated. Straight away, think of the opposite of that. That's called opposition thinking. And at first, it doesn't work, but you keep doing it and doing it and doing it, and all of a sudden, you've set yourself up for an armbar.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, so powerful. Because that's something we don't have tools. We understand lots about exercise. We know we have lots of opinions about diet, but all those things. But for the mind, for to control the thoughts, it's the most dominant thing on our beings. It's what we think. Reflects in every single interaction, how we conduct ourselves, and dictates what type of life I'm gonna have. But we don't have. Well, actually, now I think it's not even that. We don't practice. I think in things like mindfulness, meditation, powerful questions. It's so important, but I think we don't do that enough.
Yeah, I think the high performers of 2030 and beyond will be those that spend almost, I'm trying to think of the right word, a lot of time working on self-talk, choosing feelings. So when I walk in the door, there's two ways I can walk in. Choose the feeling that I want to have while I'm here, or wait for the feeling or emotion to happen to me.
Choose the feelings. I love that.
Yeah, choose it. And that's we call that taking responsibility or emotional intelligence. But it's amazing, like, when you start to do it, and then all of a sudden you realize, wow, I'm in the driver's seat of my own life. I'm the author, not the victim. And everything changes. The moment you go, every door frame now is a trigger to choose a feeling.
Wow.
And that's what I mean by 2030, anxiety will be so high that high performers, and I mean that with respect to everybody, are the people that understand that anxiety is a part of our conditioning as a species, and I am going to work aggressively or relentlessly to make sure that I give myself the best possible chance of success mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically.
Yeah.
So the gym routines, the jiu-jitsu routines, the mental and emotional will catch up. Yeah, it's going to be forced that way. The mental health system in New Zealand is going to break soon. There's not enough. If you're 35 and you suffer from depression and you really need to see somebody, good luck, 6-month waiting list.
Yes, so true.
We're going to be forced into this, what's the book? What's the podcast? I need the tip, the tool, the technique now. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. That's
which is
so
good.
hard. Yeah.
It's good for this, right? It means this has a ripple effect beyond the awesomeness of this conversation, which is great.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah.
So, Joe, what's your techniques? So, for example, when you feel some anxiety about something, so what's the first technique you put in practice?
It's a great question, and I probably should preface this by saying that in the same way that I had to define what leadership is to me, it's influence. Like, I've worked with someone who employed me, actually, who disagreed with that. He said, no, leadership is service. And it's fine. Like, we can talk about the semantics of it.
Yeah.
And I think with regard to tools and techniques, everybody wants to know what's the silver bullet? How do I get there? Teach me the fastest way. But there's so much power in the journey, in the exploration, in the opening of the book. That task of going, I heard about this book and I'm going to open it and I'm going to commit my own time and willpower to learn about it. That is more powerful than hearing it from someone like Joel, right? So I think the first thing I'd say is the attitude of it all starts with me is critical. That is the first piece of the puzzle. It's open the book, get the pen out, and write down it all starts with me. Wherever you're at, whether you're anxious, you're leading a team of 400 or 40 or 4, and you're struggling, you don't know what to do, pull out the book, get the pen, and go, it all starts with me. Comedian Chris Rock, who many people are familiar with, he has this famous quote. It says, because, like many comedians, when he first started out, he wasn't earning any money. He was just going along to gigs and trying to get out there. And he's got this quote that says, when I first got started in comedy, I'd always remember driving to the shows and I'd break down. And when I put my hand out to wave down for traffic, no one stopped. They all just drove past. As soon as I started pushing my own car, people would pull over and help. People like to see you help yourself first.
Wow, I
like,
love
wow.
that. Yeah.
And it's just a good reminder that when we start to do this, drop and become the ripple, we start to attract the right people in. And so if we are struggling, we've got to remember that we need to be the spark. We need to be the stone. We need to be the person that gets it out and goes, it all starts with me. And that's an attitudinal thing, right? Mm-hmm. So that's like the first thing. And then there's plenty of ways you can go, right?
Yeah.
There's no right answer, because someone that's suffering from severe depression compared to someone that's like looking for the edge in high performance, it's a completely different tool. But maybe just given this context, maybe I share 3 things that could be helpful for people to, like, this is a good place to start in terms of developing your own self-leadership philosophy. So the first thing I'd say is, it's a good idea to start to answer, what is your purpose? Purpose is a strong word. It's a heavy word. It can sometimes bring up challenging feelings for people. Yeah. Maybe the question, what's my why? But like, for what purpose am I here? What am I doing? What's that about? If you don't answer that question, then it's kind of like the old saying of like, if you don't know where you're going, any old place will do, right? You'll end up wherever, right?
Yeah.
And so you've got to bang on the drum of just defining that, of creating that. Like, you know, when I think about you and what you've created here, and look, just for the listeners, like, I don't actually know you, right? I don't actually know you, but I go, you know, part of your why or your purpose is to contribute to the lives of others in a way that could never have been achieved unless they cross paths with Vanderson and BJJ. And knowing that and being clear about that, it gives you clarity and direction. And if we go back to the beginning of this talk today, it's like, that's what most people struggle with.
Yeah.
Who am I? Where am I going? What am I about? So find the person. Don't ask how, ask who. Find the person that can help you distill your purpose, get clear about your why. I think the second thing would be, you want to become intimate with your values as a person. So when I think of values, I think, you know, what's most important to you? You know, what is most important to you? And a lot of people go, family, integrity, whatever it may be. Go and do the work. Go and buy the book. Go and buy the course. Go and have the conversation with a friend and get clear about your values. And once you're clear about them, do everything you can to align your life to be congruent with them. Because in that is the answer to, how do I live? So the purpose is, why am I here? What am I, you know, why am I in existence? The values become, how do I live? So my number one value is energy. It's the reason I got on the bike.
Yeah.
It enhances my energy, you know?
Yeah.
I have an alarm that goes off at 10 to 5 every day that says, it's not when you come home, Joel, it's how you come home. The research backs that up as well, right? The research
That's
is
super
there.
cool. It's how you can get home, yeah.
And I think it's in the domain of parents with kids, couples with kids that eventually split up. And a lot of it comes down to, it's not when you came home, it's how you're coming home. And that's what breaks down the marriage and eventually the family. And so it's that, right? So when you get clear about your values, you can start to determine, what are my goals in line with my values, and what are my behaviors in line with my values. So now already, just with those 2 things, you're starting to bring about certainty in a world of uncertainty. And this is critical, because we used to be able to find certainty in everything, you know, it was all there. And now technology's changing our lives, the marketplace has changed, people are losing their jobs left, right, and center. Everything's changing so fast, Vanderson, as you know. And so we've got to be the author of our own book. We've got to find it. So we go, what's my purpose? Figure that out. We go, what are my values? Align your life to that. My cousin once said to me, whatever you do, cuz, don't lose your word.
Yeah.
So if you say that's your goal,
yes.
If you say that's how you're going to live, that's where your willpower goes. Not to other people's to-do list, to your values list.
Yeah.
You know? And I think making these things important and at the front of your schedule is actually the way to serve the world, the community, your family at the highest level. And one of the common mistakes or tripwires is people are all wake up, give from an empty tank. They're the golden goose, but they're not looking after themselves. So they can't lay the golden eggs, right? You've got to get your head around to be selfless. Sometimes you have to be intentionally selfish. And I don't mean you be actually selfish. It's just that you've got to get these fundamentals in place. Because now when you show up to the business, to your clients, to the marketplace, to your family, and you're clear about why you're in existence, you're clear about how to live, wow. All you've got is to be in service to them. And you're not trying to get from them something to fill you up. Jim Rohn once said, he goes, I used to think in a relationship it was, I'll look after you if you look after me. This is husband and wife, right? And then I realized I'll look after me for you if you look after you for me.
Wow, that's
that kind of
super
nice,
powerful, super powerful.
And so, and the third thing, Vanderson, would be, what's the compelling vision that you have for your life? You know, like zoom out 30,000 feet and go, okay, it's 2021. I'm 37 years of age. You know, touch wood, you get to 47. Where do you want to be, Joel? What's that about? What's the exciting piece of that? I did this exercise in Toronto. I flew over there, watched a mentor of mine, Robin Sharma, and he got us to write down the answer to 3 questions. And it was about creating vision for your life. And so the 3 questions were, so I'll provide the framework first. He said, there's 2 ways you can die. The first is you get to the end of your life and you're lying there on your bed and the people that you love the most are surrounding you, possibly praying for you, but everyone, including yourself, is at peace with your life and what needed to be done. You're happy, they accept it, and then you die. A beautiful way to die. He then went on to say that the other way to die is to be alone somewhere, surrounded by the shadows of your untapped potential. And those shadows are screaming at you saying, why didn't you use me? I was here with you your whole life, this potential, and you didn't tap into me. And so he said, that's why we're going to do this exercise now. And he said, these are the 3 questions. Who did you become? What difference did you make? What memories do you hold?
Whoa.
And so I have spent my life reviewing those questions. And so you write them in the present tense of being at the end of your life. So as I write, I'll be like, so who did I become? I'm thinking about that on my deathbed, like I'm about to die. This is who I became. But I'm writing that in that moment there. And then now, as a 37-year-old, I go, okay, if that's the vision, let's get to work. That's who I want to become. And this is how we cast a compelling, exciting vision that makes us want to wake up, that makes us want to find the willpower, that makes us want to self-lead and drop the pebble and cast the right kind of ripples, that makes us want to surround ourselves with the people that lift us up instead of compare us. Yeah. And so that's a particular tool that people can take and start to answer those questions. And I'll be honest with you, like once you start to answer it, 2 things are going to happen. 1, you get really bloody excited and you start shifting and changing. Or 2, you get really scared because you realize it's going to take some work. You know? Like what difference, the second question, what difference did I make? I go, wow. Oh man, it feels like there's a lot of responsibility there. Like I want to run a studio where people have a better relationship with themselves, with each other. They become intimate with the philosophy and the values of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Like that can be quite scary.
Yes.
And that's why we have to do that self-leadership work. We have to distill the values. We have to get clear about our why, and we have to cast the vision for the future. And I think if we start there in those 3 fundamental areas, then after that, we can grab the book, we can listen to the mentor, and we can add to the toolkit. But if you try to put a micro skill or silver bullet on a foundation of nothing, it won't work. Like if I come in here and I go, hey, teach me the rear naked choke. You're like, hey, man, we got to get you fit for this. You know, we need the foundation, right?
Yes.
So if someone was going like, I'm a high performer, I'm looking for my next level, or I'm overwhelmed, stressed, anxious, or depressed, I need some help, I'd start there. Discover your purpose, unleash your values, and cast a compelling vision for your future. That's what self-leaders do. And as they do that, they actually cast ripples back into their own life and into the lives of those that they're surrounded with.
Wow. Man, I love that.
There's a lot of ripples, I'm sorry.
No, man, don't say no, man. Holy, lots of information. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna even, listen back and make some notes and try to share with, as people as much as I can. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So, John, okay, so you pretty much told what we should do. Now, what we should not do as a self leadership. So what the things we should avoid?
Yes. So it's very, very efficient, easy, and common to live below the line. Blame other people, compare, judge, make excuses, pretend things aren't happening. Really, it's really easy. And the things that we shouldn't do, we know we shouldn't do them, but we've become numb to them. And you need to catch yourself when you do that stuff. Say to a friend, hey, look, if you ever hear me make an excuse, call me on it, man. I need to know that stuff. So don't live below the line. Don't play the role of victim. Imagine your life as a book. You're the writer. You're the author. You're not reading it. You're writing it.
Yes.
You get to choose how you show up to each and every situation. So if someone cuts you off in traffic, you can go wind the window down and honk the horn, or you can go, that was lucky. Two choices, same situation. So get in the driver's seat. Don't be reactive, And I know that's easy to say, and I know it's what you teach as well. It's like about being proactive, right? Freeze the moment and choose the best response possible.
Yeah.
So I think that's a fundamental, elementary lesson that just is a good thing to get started. It's like if you did a time audit of how you spend your time, do a below the line audit. Where am I making choices or decisions that don't serve my future well at all? Do that. I think that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
How can we become better leaders?
Yeah, I like that question because it's straight to the throat. It's like, how do we do it?
Yeah.
I think increase your ratio of action to thinking. Like, we're all great thinkers. How many great ideas do you have a day? Yeah. It's like, with so many great ideas. I know. And there's nothing wrong with thinking. But I think if we took more action and channeled our thinking, like I'm going to go to the beach for 30 minutes with a pen and paper and do some quality thinking, and then I'm going to stop thinking and take actions. I'm going to go and see that friend. I'm going to go and make a dish of food and give that to that person. I'm going to go and get $2 out, change, and go and find the next person that's on the street that needs money, and just act. Stop thinking. We think too much. And if you don't think enough, I'm sure you'll find a way to think a bit more. So it's increasing the ratio of action to thinking. I think that has a profound effect on our ability to lead others well, but more importantly, to lead ourselves in a way that is meaningful, that gives us a sense of self-care and well-being, mental well-being. Yeah.
And be your own hero, right? That's the journey, right?
It is, man.
That's the journey. We try to find as much help, Yeah, because what I love what you said about this difference of finding mentors and compare to the others, has a massive distinction of those two things, right?
Yeah. I think there's a what we didn't get taught at school, or what no one will teach us, is it's good to have mentors. It's good. Like you've got to surround yourself in good company. I think it was Gustave Le Bon, end of the 19th century. He termed the phrase behavioral or emotional contagion. So if I'm in the presence of somebody that I like, I will allow you at an unconscious level to influence me. So if you start tidying up after yourself, I'll start tidying up after myself. So we've got to surround ourselves with the right people, but I can never put you on a pedestal as like I'm trying to live my life that way. As you said, you've got to be your own hero. You are the change. You've got to lead it. You've got to be inspired by your own self. And I think that's the pathway into true contribution to the world. It's the pathway into true connection with others, is to know that you're leading this journey, that you are the hero of your own journey, as you would say. Yeah.
So Joe, who's an example of a good leader at the moment, in your opinion?
I think...
in any field?
Yeah. I'd probably start with my wife. You know, someone that has the courage to look after herself really well, and find the gaps to do that in amongst a schedule of massive contribution to our kids, to me, to supporting me. And that there conceptually says what a good leader is. Is like, if it's 11 o'clock at night that you need to read the book, read it at 11 o'clock at night when they're all asleep, you know? Do that then, right? Because at 7 a.m. they need you on your A game, you know? So it's when you pour in and when you pour out.
Wow.
Getting that right. But you've got to make sure you go back to the source. What is the source? Like, you can't just take from the well. Something's got to fill the well up, right? And you've got to get clear about that. Is it church? Is it jiu-jitsu? Is it business mentorship groups? You know, a good leader is someone that is always learning and going back to the source so that they can then give from a place of abundance, not from a place of scarcity. Yeah.
Wow, I love that. Yeah, because I love, as we talk about self-leadership, of course, yeah, that's a great example.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So Joel, now, yeah, now I'm going to invite you for the hard part. So this is the part of the podcast we call the Embrace the Chaos, when I make some philosophical questions, okay? So the first question, Joel, it's, do you cry?
Do I cry? Yeah, probably maybe once on average, maybe couple of months, every quarter, if I was like looking back. Yeah.
What makes you cry? What made you cry the last time?
Overwhelm. And I'm cool with that. I'm cool with overwhelm.
Yeah.
I think it's, you know, I have high expectations of myself. And so I'll take on a lot mentally. And then sometimes I get to the point where I feel like, wow, I'm tapping out.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
to use a relevant analogy. And man, Mum taught me years ago when I was really young. I remember she said, something looks like it's on your mind. And I started crying. I must have been like 9 or something like that. And I cried and cried and cried. And then afterwards she goes, do you feel better? And I was like, yeah. She goes, good.
Yeah.
That's the outlet we need sometimes. So yeah, probably, once every quarter. Not obviously on point, but, you know, like everyone, I think, not like everyone, just like myself, I get overwhelmed, yeah. And that's probably the main cause of it, yeah. Or if I catch myself like heavily out of alignment with my values, that can be a little bit like, come on, bro.
Yeah.
You know, sort it out.
Are you self-leading yourself in a way it's make you happy?
Am I? Yeah, I think the way I'd answer that is theoretically, like I can talk about it with some sort of elegance maybe, but I'm a student, man. I'm a practitioner. I'm trying my best, you know.
Yes.
And I think I fall short every single day, and that's okay. My intention is there, and my commitment to execution is there. I'll be chasing self-leadership my whole life.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah.
So Joe, if you could go back to yourself on, 20 years ago, which advice would you give to yourself?
Wow. Don't stop taking risks. And when I say risks, I don't mean like stupid things, obviously, but I mostly like around social risks or social risks. Because I think when socially we risk, we grow. I think it was Brené Brown who, right at the core, I might get this a little bit wrong, right at the core of all of us is, I'm scared that I won't be loved or I won't belong. And that's what drives a lot of what we do. And so when we take risks socially, like me coming here, right?
Yeah.
And I get such incredible feedback from you around you're welcome here. It's good to have you here. It reminds me that, oh yeah, cool, awesome, fire. Keep doing that, Joel.
Yes, we like it. We know each other for a long time.
It feels like that, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think the world is already moving towards disconnection, segregation.
Yeah.
You do you over there, you do you over there. So the more risk that we can take socially to come together, to collaborate, to exchange energy, yeah.
I love that, man. That's awesome.
It's
That's
so
super
critical,
cool.
I think, yeah.
So, Joe, 3 most influential books has, changed your life.
Yeah, this is a hard read, this one, and most people will roll their eyes at it.
Yeah.
It's,
I know.
but it got me started in personal
true.
development was 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey.
So you talk about the book. Sorry. So which one?
Oh, sorry, what was the question?
Sorry. No, this is right.
Yep.
No, please keep going.
7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yeah, I love this book. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just the holding up the mirror analogy and going, what can I do to make, I think it was Anise Nin said, we don't see the world as it is, we see the world as we are.
Yes.
Right? And so as I look at the world, it's different to how Vanderson looks at the world. And it's really, really important that we don't just let that go on autopilot forever. So that was a great book. It helped me to shift from victim to self-author. Huge, massive, massive book. Another book would be John C. Maxwell. He wrote a book called Good Leaders Ask Great Questions. And it got me started on the coaching pathway, which we talked about before it started, is like, instead of being a leader that tells, be a leader that asks, because in the ask is empowerment. That's how you empower people. So that was a profound book, and just honing the skill set of asking great questions. Because if you said to most people, like, what are the top 10 questions that you ask? And you're like, I don't know.
Yes.
I talk more than I ask, right? Hey, right? And that's the great thing about this is you're asking the questions, right? To be interesting, be interested. Right, this is how self-leadership works. So that's a massive book as well. And then I'm actually reading a book at the moment called The Coaching Habit. The author escapes me, but I literally just ordered 10 copies yesterday because I'm giving this book away to the people that kind of, because we said your books change lives, right?
Yes, yeah.
So when I meet someone and go, this is the right book for them, I just send them a copy.
I don't know the scope. So which book is
It's called The Coaching Habit.
Okay.
And I'll send you the author so you can put it in the show notes.
Yes,
or whatever
please,
it may be.
yeah.
But it's just, wow. It's like there's 7 questions that every single leader needs to be able to ask. They need to know these 7 questions.
Do you remember those 7?
The first question. So this is coaching context, right? So this is not shooting the breeze, small talk. This is I'm sitting down and I'm having a conversation with you because I want to help you. The first question is, what's on your mind? So the good thing about that question, as I understand it, is it's not saying, what's up? Let's talk about anything. It's saying, what's on your mind? Because often what's on our mind is like, it's that thing that's been keeping me up at night. But it's not so specific that people feel challenged. The what's on your mind question is really powerful. And yeah, so we'll put it in the show notes, eh?
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
Because otherwise it could turn into another whole blog. There's like the 7 questions. But questions will change our lives, eh? They really will. So yeah, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Good Leaders Ask Great Questions, and then The Coaching Habit. That's just something that I'm reading at the moment. Daring Greatly by Brene Brown helped me massively with vulnerability. So I reckon vulnerability's got the biggest misconception. When I talk to particularly males about vulnerability, they think it's sharing their feelings in a way that like they're at a loss. To me, it's like what you just said. When do you cry? And being okay to have those conversations about areas that are otherwise challenging, particularly I think for males.
Yeah.
And I have started the practice of trying to label my emotions. So when I feel a particular way, like I'll leave here and I'll go, as I walk down the stairs, I'll go, what was the dominant feeling for me during that podcast? And the better I get at labeling it, the easier it is for me to talk about humiliation, embarrassment, despair, all these things that we otherwise avoid. But we can talk about those things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I love
so that's an incredible book. If emotionally which we all do, we lose a lot of energy emotionally, just Brene Brown's work I think is really, really powerful. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I know that was 4, but
Yeah, no, great.
Yeah.
So Joe, which question you'd like me to ask and I didn't during this conversation? Which question should I ask you and I didn't?
I think you ask great questions. There's nothing that I feel like I really need to add to what we've already discussed for people to get started in self-leadership, and also to just not get started, because so many people listening, they're already doing this, right? But just to be reminded that they're on the right track. Keep going. Keep going.
I love that.
Keep showing up, right?
Yeah.
Keep showing up. It's a journey, man. And we've got to, it's, what is it? White belt mentality.
Yeah.
You know, even when you're black belt.
Yeah.
How do you do that? How do you do that? You know? So no, I think I don't know if there's anything else that I would add. So I don't know if there's a question that I think you should have asked. What are we talking about? Why it's important?
Yes.
Why you should do it? What you should do? How to get started? Yeah, it's good.
That's awesome. So Joe, the last question: what's life? What's life is about? What's the meaning of life?
Oh, right. Yeah.
What's life?
Life is it's an opportunity to use your life in a way that no one else could otherwise do, only you, because of timing, to improve, enhance, and help other people. That's all it is an opportunity to help other people. And if it's something other than that, great. But until then, that's my working definition. And I'm happy to upgrade it at a later date. But until then, that's it. And I think we all need to remind ourselves that it's not about becoming the CEO. It's not about becoming the black belt. It's about right now, what is the opportunity in front of you to help improve the life of somebody else? And that could be something as simple as asking somebody, what's on your mind?
Wow. Man, well, no better way to finish this podcast yet.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Joe.
Pleasure.
I love this episode. I'm going to listen again, take notes. Thank you so much. If people want to connect with you, Joe, and know more and, learn more from you, so can you please give us give a plug so someone can connect with you? Yeah,
I think the easiest way would be either Instagram or LinkedIn. Most people are either on one or the other or both.
Yeah.
And I'm under just my name, Joel Bouzaid, which I'm sure we'll have that somewhere in the title there. And just reach out, send me a message. What was that book? What do you recommend? This is where I'm at. Like, that's what we do, right? Is we help people. And if I can't help you, then I'll send you in the direction of all the other coaches and people that I know can help. So yeah, Joel Bouzaid on Instagram or LinkedIn. That's an easy way to get in touch.
That's awesome. So Joe, thank you so much. Keep changing the world, and I must bring you here again, my friend. Yeah, we're gonna do another one for sure.
Awesome. Thank you, Vanderson.
Thank you so much, my brother. Thank you.
Cheers.